In the year 1302, the poet Dante Alighieri was exiled from his beloved Florence. Banned from his home, separated from his family, he wandered Italy in bitter exile. At age 35, midway through life's journey, he found himself lost in darkness. So, he wrote a vision, a journey through the depths of hell itself. Not just to understand sin, but to confront his own demons and the corruption he had witnessed. This is his Inferno. In the year 1300, the poet Dante Alighieri found himself lost in a dark wood. The straight path to salvation had vanished, and he wandered in shadow and confusion. He tried to climb toward light on a distant hill, but three beasts drove him back into darkness. A leopard of desire, a lion of violence, and a she-wolf of greed blocked every path forward. Then from the shadows emerged a figure, the ancient Roman poet Virgil, sent to guide him. Only by witnessing the depths of hell could Dante understand sin and find his way back to grace. Together they descended toward the gate, where massive doors of iron and stone loomed before them, inscribed above in words of terrible finality. Through me the way into the suffering city, through me the way to eternal pain, through me the way among the lost people. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here. The gates opened, and they crossed into the damned realm. In darkness, they descended to the first circle, where dwelt the virtuous pagans without Christ. Here there was no torture, no fire, no physical pain, only eternal separation from God. Hope denied forever to those who lived good lives but died without knowledge of salvation. The souls sighed in endless longing, aware of what they could never have despite their virtue. A noble castle stood in this place, surrounded by 7 walls and flowing with gentle light. Among them walked the great philosophers and poets, Homer, Aristotle, Socrates in melancholy. This was Virgil's own home, for he too died before Christ and could never enter paradise. Deeper they went, leaving limbo behind, descending toward circles of true torment and pain. At the entrance to the second circle stood Minos, the infernal judge with his coiling tail. His tail wrapped around himself. Once for each circle the soul must descend to in damnation. Beyond him raged a violent storm without end, punishing those who surrendered reason to lust and desire. Endless winds tore at the lustful souls, giving no rest, just as passion once drove them in life. The air was thick with moans and cries as bodies tumbled helplessly through the black tempest. 2 souls spun together in the wind, Paolo and Francesca, which were killed for their forbidden passion. They had read of Lancelot's love and could resist no more, and her husband struck them down. Lust led them to one death, and now as one to eternal suffering together in the storm's cruel embrace. In the third circle, freezing rain and hail fell without end upon the gluttons in putrid slush. The mud was thick with rotting waste, and the souls wallowed like swine in their own filth. Cerberus, the 3-headed beast, guarded this realm, clawing and tearing at the wretched souls. His 3 mouths barked and howled, savage and dripping with hunger for the wretched souls. He forced them to consume excrement and rot as they once consumed excess without restraint. They had lived only for the pleasure of taste. Now they tasted only misery and endless decay. Those who hoarded food while others starved now lay together, stripped of all human dignity. Unrecognizable in their degradation, they howled and wept in the freezing mire without end. Dante and Virgil stood upon a stone balcony overlooking the fourth circle's endless conflict. Below, two armies pushed massive stone slabs, straining with futile effort and rage. The stones crashed together with thunderous sound, then turned to repeat the cycle. "Why do you waste?" screamed the hoarders. "Why do you hoard?" screamed the wasters. The masses pushed from behind, faceless and endless in their futile labor. Material obsession had stripped them of identity, their features lost to greed entirely. Some searched desperately through empty purses, finding no gold, only air and dust. Others clutched their empty bags in isolation, protecting nothing from no one. Dante and Virgil descended through the arena, walking past souls who saw nothing but stone. The river Styx wound through the fifth circle, black and seething with the souls of the wrathful. On the surface of the river, they tore at each other in endless combat, clawing faces and strangling necks. Blood mixed with the dark water as they bit and fought, never achieving victory or final release. Beneath the water, the sullen gurgled, unable to express their passive rage even in eternal damnation. Bubbles rose where they choked and tried to speak, their words lost forever in the muddy depths. In life, they swallowed their rage in silence. Now that silence drowns them for eternity. Dante and Virgil watched from the shore as the violence unfolded, witnessing rage consuming itself. A ferryman carried them across the violent river toward the walls of Dis, the city of lower hell. Beyond those iron gates, the sins grew darker still as incontinence gave way to deliberate malice. The sixth circle was a vast cemetery of flame where heretics lay trapped in burning tombs. They had denied the soul's immortality in life. Now they burned in eternal fire they claimed could not exist. Flames leapt from open stone sarcophagus, stretching endlessly across the scorched, barren plain. Inside the burning tombs, souls writhed and screamed, their flesh eternally consumed by fire, yet never destroyed. The heat was immense and suffocating. Thick smoke choked the air, ash fell like black snow. Dante and Virgil covered their faces with their robes, struggling to breathe as they walked through infernal heat. Among the damned stood souls, still proud in suffering, refusing remorse even as flames devoured them. They had rejected divine truth for their own beliefs. Now their pride burned alongside their flesh. At the circle's edge, they prepared to descend deeper toward the seventh circle where violence reigned. The seventh circle punished violence in 3 rings, guarded by a great minotaur raging in darkness. Virgil calmed the beast with words of power, and they descended into the first ring of bloodshed. Murderers who took life with pleasure now faced their own blades turned against them eternally. They boiled in Phlegethon, a river of blood and fire, immersed to depths matching their crimes. Centaurs patrolled the crimson shores, weapons ready to enforce the eternal punishment of violence. The river stretched endlessly before them, and beyond its far shore waited darker horrors still. In the second ring grew a dark and twisted forest, but these gnarled trees were not what they seemed. The branches were gnarled and black, bearing no leaves or fruit, only sharp thorns and twisted limbs. Virgil broke a twig, and the branch bled. "Why do you tear me?" cried a desperate voice from the wood. These were souls who committed violence against themselves, all those who took their own precious lives. Denied human form for destroying God's gift, they were transformed into gnarled trees forever. Harpies nested in their branches, tearing bark and leaves, causing fresh pain with every wing beat. One soul spoke of holding keys to an emperor's heart before making his body betray itself entirely. They departed the weeping trees, their journey through violence far from over, toward the scorching sands of the third ring. The third ring was a desert of burning sand where fire rained from the sky like endless falling snow. The sand stretched vast and empty, glowing red with heat beneath the falling flames descending from above. Blasphemers lay flat on their backs, defying God even now, forced to watch the divine fire fall upon them. Among them towered Capaneus, a defiant king cursing heaven even as flames consumed his flesh eternally. Sodomites ran in endless circles across burning sand, fleeing fire that fell regardless of their flight. Usurers sat hunched over empty purses hanging from necks, unable to lift heads under the weight of fire. The flames fell slowly like snowflakes, but burned with intensity that charred both flesh and bone forever. Beyond the burning sand, the ground dropped away into a vast chasm, with all the desert's fires flooding into the darkness. Dante and Virgil carefully climbed down the treacherous path, leaving the burning wasteland for deeper horrors. The eighth circle was Malebolge, the evil ditches, 10 concentric trenches of descending fraud. In the first ditch, demons whipped seducers and panderers forward without rest in eternal march. In the second ditch, flatterers were immersed in excrement, wallowing in the waste they created. They dealt in verbal waste in life. Now they suffered physical waste for all eternity in filth. In the third ditch, corrupt church officials were planted upside down with flames licking their feet. They sold sacred offices for gold and power. Now fire consumed them in inverted punishment. In the fourth ditch walked sorcerers and false prophets, with their heads twisted backward forever. They tried to see the future in life. Now they could only look behind while shuffling blind. Tears ran down their backs as they moved forward, unable to see the path ahead of them. In the fifth ditch, corrupt politicians were submerged in boiling tar, drowning in their darkness. Demons with hooked poles patrolled above, plunging souls back down whenever they surfaced for air. They took bribes in secret and sold their cities. Now their punishment was equally black and hidden. In the sixth ditch, hypocrites walked in slow procession, wearing beautiful robes lined with lead. Each step was agony under crushing weight, beautiful outside, but heavy with sin within their souls. In the seventh ditch, thieves ran in terror as serpents pursued and bit them in grotesque horror. When bitten, their bodies transformed, flesh becoming scales and arms coiling into serpent form. Human and reptile fused and separated endlessly as they stole others' property. Now their forms get stolen. In the eighth ditch, flames walked upright, each flame concealing a fraudulent advisor's soul within. One flame spoke of sailing beyond the known world, the great hero Ulysses telling his final tale. He told his men they were made to follow virtue and knowledge, not to live as mindless brutes. But his clever tongue brought death to many, and cunning without wisdom led him to this flame. In the ninth ditch, sowers of discord were hacked apart by a demon's sword as they passed through. They healed only to circle back and be split again, divided as they divided others in their lives. One soul carried his severed head like a lantern, having divided father from son in treachery. In the 10th ditch, falsifiers suffered from disease. Alchemists burned, counterfeiters swelled, perjurers raged. They corrupted truth itself in life. Now corruption consumed their bodies in eternal sickness. Dante and Virgil escaped the horrors, and the atmosphere started to cool down. They climbed down from the evil ditches toward the frozen heart of hell at the universe's center. At the center of the universe lay Cocytus, the frozen lake where all warmth and loyalty died. The surface was hard as diamond, stretching vast and empty beneath a moonless, starless sky. Traitors were locked in ice in 4 rings, their betrayal reflected in the cold of their punishment. In the first ring, traitors to family were frozen to their necks, their own blood turned to ice. They wept, but their tears froze on their cheeks, unable to fall or bring relief to their suffering. Among them, Count Ugolino gnawed his betrayer's skull in eternal rage and hunger. In the second ring, traitors to country were fully submerged beneath the frozen surface entirely. In the third ring, traitors to their guests lay face up in the ice, tears frozen on their lashes before a single drop could fall. In the fourth ring, the worst traitors were completely encased in ice, with no freedom at all. These souls who betrayed their benefactors could not move, speak, or be seen in their icy tomb. Dante and Virgil climbed down the final steps of the frozen pit, from where the freezing winds relentlessly originated from. As Dante approached hell's absolute center, the soul-chilling winds grew stronger, biting deeper than earthly frost. Through a tunnel they went, muffled wailing and cries of treacherous souls echoed through it. They heard a howling roar as a distant windmill. But no, it came from something alive. A colossal shadow emerged through swirling mist, vast, terrible beyond mortal grasp. As they approached closer, a huge leathery wing swept past Dante, nearly lifting him in its freezing gust. Then one gigantic arm loomed, scarred dark skin with matted fur, veins bulging like frozen rivers. The arm gripped a writhing traitor like a plaything in its immense grasp. Virgil whispered gravely, "Here lies the ultimate traitor, frozen in his own malice." His body towered enormous beyond comprehension, ugly corrupted giant with dark grey-black skin patched with matted fur frozen stiff. The stench of ancient corruption and frozen decay hung thick in the air. No majesty remained, naked, fallen angel, muscles vast yet powerless, throbbing futilely against ice. From his back spread 6 massive bat wings, tattered and torn, beating slowly to birth, the freezing wind of Cocytus. Ice clung to his wings and body like chains, frost covering his corrupted flesh. Dante's legs trembled, every instinct screaming to flee from this abomination when he saw its head. The central face burned red with rage, the left face sickly yellow with impotence, the right face shadowed black with ignorance. All 3 faces wept without end, tears freezing on ruined features as they fell. Once Lucifer, the morning star, the most beautiful of all angels, now only this pitiful form in endless torment. From 6 eyes poured tears mixing with bloody foam dripping from 3 gnashing mouths filled with fangs. The gnashing of his teeth echoed like grinding stone, a sound of eternal rage. The center mouth chewed Judas eternally for betraying Christ, his body crushed yet unable to die. The left and right mouths held Brutus and Cassius, Caesar's betrayers, suffering the same endless torment. Virgil urged, "We must climb down his body. There is no other way out of hell." Dante's heart pounded seeing the monster munching souls, but he trusted his guide. Virgil gripped the frozen, matted fur on Satan's chest, and they began their treacherous descent down his colossal body. Slick with ice and wings beating overhead, they climbed lower, with each step perilous. At his waist, gravity itself reversed. Down became up, the world spinning in terrifying disorientation. They climbed upward through a narrow tunnel carved in rock, darkness giving way to faint grey light. The air grew warmer with each step, and ahead the opening grew brighter. They were leaving hell behind. Dante had descended through the 9 circles, witnessing lust, gluttony, greed, wrath, and dark heresy. He had seen violence in all its forms, fraud in 10 evil ditches, and treachery frozen in ice. He stood before Satan himself at the center of all damnation and climbed back toward blessed light. In the middle of life's journey, he found himself lost in a dark wood, but he was not alone in darkness. Though he descended into the deepest pit of hell, he emerged transformed by all that he had witnessed. For only those who understand damnation can truly appreciate grace and the gift of salvation freely offered. Only those who have seen hell can seek heaven with true understanding of what they have narrowly escaped. And then they emerged to see the stars again, a sight more beautiful than any treasure on earth.